Hi, my name's Cami McMillen-Haught, and I'm the registered dietitian at WVU. Just to tell you a little bit about what I do offer free nutritional counseling to all WVU students. And even though right now we are social distancing, that is still something I can do through Zoom. I can just do over the phone, whatever students are needing. And also right now I have some different TikTok videos out under WVU Dietitian showing some different cooking videos and recipes. And also you can catch me on WVU's Instagram under their stories.
Great. Well, Cami, thank you so much for joining us today. And, if it's okay, we'll just ask you some questions
Sure.
just to send out to some students for some nutrition advice. So
Yeah.
the first question's pretty broad, and it's just, why is healthy eating so important?
Well, what we eat really ties into pretty much every part of our day. Of course, just overall health, but what we eat affects our mood, our mental health. It affects our sleep, how well we are studying, and we can focus on our tests. It just really, kind of fuel you put in your body is what you're going to get out of it. If you are fueling yourself with foods that aren't that good, really not going to feel good and your body's not going to run good. So it really just makes a difference for mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. I love that comparison of, food to fuel, right? Of like, fueling our car. You want to put the best fuel in your body rather than junk.
Yeah, that's what I tell students all the time is you don't run your car on an empty tank. I don't know how you expect to run your body when you're not feeling it. So many will skip meals and then they wonder why they're feeling bad. So yeah, it really is important.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I think it's one of the things that often gets left out, just like you were saying, skipping meals, or I'm too busy for that, or I don't have enough time to cook, kind of things like that.
It does. And honestly, you don't have to cook to still have a really well balanced, healthy meal. It could be a peanut butter sandwich with some yogurt and fruit. Very simple, but still a good balance.
hmm Well, I'll go into the next question. So I'm wondering how you would define healthy eating.
I think everybody probably has a little bit of a different definition for healthy eating. The way I look at it is balance through the week. We are going to, of course, try to eat our fruits, our vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, but we do need to have some room for some of those kind of splurge, feel good foods, a cookie, a brownie. So I think it's really finding a good balance where you feel good, you feel healthy, you've got great energy. You kind of want the scale at the end of the week to tip more towards the healthier foods, but still allow yourself to have some of those comfort foods too.
So you're saying we don't have to cut out the things that we enjoy, the things that
No,
might not be like super great for you.
there's room for everything. I mean, I will never give up chocolate, ever. So, I find a way to fit that in and balance it with all the good stuff. Because if you deny yourself, food doesn't become fun anymore, and mealtime's pretty boring.
hmm
I think that's great advice too, because, so many people starting a new diet, or whether it's they want to lose weight or just better their lifestyle, they'll say, I can't eat any cookies. I can't eat any junk food. I need to just eat healthy. And then they fall off very quickly because it's just so hard to sustain.
It's really hard to sustain, and it's so tempting. I mean, okay, carrot sticks, a cookie. Which one are we going to pick? We're going to want that cookie, but then we beat ourselves up over it. Have one cookie, move on with your day. It's not the end of the world to have a cookie.
I'm curious, Cami, how you would suggest to students that they incorporate eating healthy into their day-to-day life.
With that, I think it does take some planning, especially as a college student. You're busy. You might be taking a full load of classes, working, studying. You really have to plan and make the time. And so think about what you want. Make sure if you're grocery shopping, you're getting those food items. Smoothies are easy. Oatmeal's easy. there are a lot of healthy things that you can make that take hardly any time. And also food prep, get some meals ready. If you know it's going to be a hectic week, make up some batch cooking on a day you have some time. Have it so it's easy, because we turn to fast food because it's convenient. If we make it easy and we have some stuff prepped, that's also convenient. That's what I'll do at home, is I'll meal prep. All my family has to do is come home, heat it up in the microwave. It's easy.
And I'll just kind of transition into the next question, and this one's going to be pretty loaded. So how do you think just, this entire situation with COVID-19, how has that impacted, whether it's, college students or just people's ability to eat healthy, especially, compared to pre-COVID-19?
It makes it tricky because, one, if you are laid off or your hours have been cut financially, you might not be able to afford the food that you're used to buying. And so that takes some transitioning. If you're used to buying fresh fruits, you can still use canned. You just have to find a way to live within your budget right now and your means. You can still make it really well balanced, just choosing some different items. Also, trying to, if a student is used to being on campus and now they're home, maybe their family cooks differently than what they're used to living on their own. And so that's going to take an adjustment as well. Cooking styles, healthy eating maybe versus non-healthy eating. And so there's a lot of adjustments. I think the main thing, though, for students or anyone is to try to get back to as normal of a schedule as possible. If you were used to getting up at a certain time and eating or maybe exercising, really trying to keep yourself on that, because if you don't have a schedule, it's really easy to fall into old habits or maybe start to turn to convenient items or not eating as healthy. And it is stressful now too, and definitely trying to maintain a healthy diet and some exercise can help you manage the stress from this situation.
Yeah, and something that I've heard from a lot of students is exactly what you just said of, now there's no structure. I don't know when to get to bed. I'm not going to sleep until 3 a.m. and waking up until 1 p.m. How can that impact, especially thinking about from a diet standpoint, what impact can that have just on our well-being?
Well, with our sleep schedules, if we're not getting adequate or really restful sleep, it really impacts what we want to eat through the day, because then we're tired, we're not feeling well. We're going to reach more for sugary foods. So we're going to want the cookies or the cake or maybe some potato chips because it's quick energy to keep us going. And so really altering your sleep habits is going to have an impact on your diet. So I always tell students, try to stick to your routine, because I noticed myself, a couple nights I stayed up late, then I slept in, and I did not feel well at all. My whole routine was gone. I didn't eat well. Then you don't want to exercise, and it just kind of spirals. So trying to keep on a routine as much as possible is really helpful.
Just kind of piggybacking off of that topic and that question, I'm also wondering, how might one's physical space impact their ability to make healthy food choices?
Yeah, depending on, and do you mean like how much room they have available for storage of food, or?
So where, like the environment that they might be in, which I think you kind of touched on that a little bit. But as we know, some students are maybe quarantined at home, or maybe they're somewhere else or with someone else that might not make the same choices they do.
Yeah. And that gets hard, especially if you're a guest. Like, I know some students weren't able to get back home, so they are now staying with their friends' families. So that would be tricky, because if you're a different culture, religion, that can impact your food choices. And so I think maybe just having that conversation and being like, I'm so grateful that I'm here, thank you for taking me in, do you mind if I cook my own food? Or do you mind if, I use this space in the cabinet for my items? Just trying to kind of negotiate, I guess, in a way, some of the things that you need to try to keep yourself feeling as normal as possible. And I guess I kind of thought of just space to store things when you mentioned that question, which again, if you are now living in a smaller area or with friends, you might have limited space to store your food items. And so that could mean more trips to the grocery store or really altering your normal routine. The normal now just seems kind of a weird word because nothing is normal.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was also kind of thinking about the impact that might have, in that they may have their items at the same place that people that they're living with has, I don't know, snacks, cookies, other things that you could potentially be tempted by.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that everyone is going to make the same choices as you, but navigating some of those temptations can also be difficult.
It can. I mean, again, when it's there and you've got a choice between some fruit and a cupcake, typically that cupcake's going to win out probably 95% of the time. And so I think trying to draw some boundaries for yourself as, all right, I'm going to allow myself to have maybe a treat once or twice a week. And I'll tell students kind of, let's define when. So again, it can help kind of keep you on track for your healthy eating, and you're not just kind of mindlessly rummaging through the pantry, eating cookies and candy. You kind of have yourself a set routine that all right, Monday and Friday, I'm going to allow myself dessert or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I actually read an article a couple weeks ago. I think it was when, it might have even been longer than that, when things were really escalating. And it was about how people were more turning towards these kind of comfort foods that have the longer shelf life, but are also way unhealthier. So like chips, cookies, preservatives. So I guess what advice might you give a student who maybe is on a low budget and, they're thinking long-term, I don't want to have to go to the grocery store every week.
Yes.
Why not get a bag of Doritos that can last, 6 months or something like that?
Or ramen noodles.
Ramen. Oh yes. Or Easy Mac. Easy Mac's a big one. And that I see their rationale for that, because again, we want to limit exposure. We don't want to be in the stores that much. So what I would recommend is maybe opting more for some canned vegetables, canned fruits that you could still have on hand, fruit and vegetables, of course, with the fruits looking for like water packed or juice packed. Potatoes, apples, they have a long storage time. Things like that they could do. Budget wise, I always tell them to look where they're shopping. I guess I can recommend, I always go to Aldi's just because you can save a lot of money there. You could do dried fruits, nuts. Those would make a healthy snack that's going to last. Unsweetened cereals, oatmeal. They're going to have a really long shelf life, quick and easy, and also inexpensive.
Yeah. And I think part of it too just goes back to, they think, oh, I need, this comfort food. There's so much stress going on. And probably when you're a kid, that comfort food is going to be Oreos and Doritos. But I love your suggestion of, take a step back and find some cheap, healthier alternatives that can, be
sustain you.
Yeah.
Because the junk food, yes, it tastes good in that moment, but it really doesn't sustain you. You don't feel satisfied as much, or at least I can say I don't. And with the comfort eating too, it just sets up a cycle for them because it lasts such a short amount of time with that comfort feeling. And then you're looking for your next fix in a way of making yourself feel good. And that's going to lead to gaining weight. And so that cycle continues where if you're eating healthier, getting some physical activity in, mentally, you are going to feel better and be able to deal with that stress.
Great. And just kind of going to the next question, I guess, aside from what you've talked about already, what guidance or advice might you give to students listening to this, given now that we're in the age of COVID-19, and it can be broad advice, specific advice, just any advice you might have for students looking for some nutrition guidance?
Yeah, I think self-care is so important. Make yourself a priority. Make sure you're getting good, nutritious meals. You're getting physical activity. You're getting plenty of sleep, plenty of water intake. I preach this kind of all the time, even to my own two teenagers. And I know they get tired of hearing it, but it's that little thing that people take for granted, that, oh yeah, well, I'll eat healthy tomorrow. And then, well, tomorrow really doesn't ever come. You kind of got to set a goal, stick with it. We are going to fall off the wagon here and there, and we all do it, but you just got to start again. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing the difference you're going to feel in yourself. I was counseling a gentleman last week whose diet was just not that great. Sleep wasn't great. Within a week's time, he made quite a few changes, and it was just so good to talk to him on the phone, because he's like, I feel so much better. Sleep's better. I mean, it really does have an impact on you. You got to get a plan, and you got to stick with it.
Mm-hmm. And what's so, fascinating about all of this is when you think of, if you're eating it for comfort, right, you're almost setting up a trap for yourself.
Yeah.
And because things are so nuts right now, and it's all things that are out of our control, what better time to start a healthy diet where you can really put your effort into it, you can find a purpose, and I can only imagine that, long term, that would contribute positively to our overall well-being.
It does. I mean, we do have some extra time on our hands with this. And so instead of, channel surfing or watching YouTube videos, or, as my kids like to Snapchat, get up and move, plan out your day, get some healthy items in there. And you do have that time to devote to it, to make it a habit. So then when we do start getting back to normal, that habit's going to stick, and it's going to be a little bit easier for you to keep it up.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned self-care too, because, not just self-care in the sense of like, I'm going to do some things that I really enjoy, but at its core too, taking care of yourself, which is kind of nourishing the mind, the body, the soul. And that's often one of the questions that I'm first talking with students about, because, I won't speak for Adam, but in our line of work, we do know that these things correlate. What does your sleep look like? What are you eating? Are you only eating one meal a day? Is it 3 meals a day? I ask, are you drinking water? I know, I'm like as silly as that is, but I also realize what it's like to be a really busy college student too, and to feel like you really don't have the time for these things. But just coming back to that piece what you're mentioning with plan, like it does take some planning to sit down and kind of, figure out, okay, how am I going to go from 1 meal a day to 3 meals a day? But it is really important, just kind of for all around wellness.
It is. It's definitely doable, and we always have time. It's amazing how much time we can waste on electronics or television or whatever we are doing. We all have our little vices. That's time that you can definitely cut out and put towards making some good changes for yourself.
Mm-hmm. So I'll lead into this is kind of our last and like a final question, but so I've seen you talk to students, and I've heard some of the advice that you've given. I've even seen you make, like kind of give a recipe for making trail mix, which I thought was phenomenal. Yeah. And I do that now myself. But I'm wondering if you can tell us, like even what some of the services are that you provide, even if it is kind of more on a case by case basis with students, but what that looks like, kind of helping them to get their diet on track. I'm wondering if students recognize what nutritional counseling means, what that looks like, how can it benefit them?
So nutritional counseling, at least from my standpoint, what I typically do when the student comes in is I want to get to know them, because what I'm going to do for them is going to be personalized for them. We're all different. And so, of course, I want to know any past medical history or medications, exercise, sleep, water intake. We'll kind of go through what they normally eat. And then we'll go through and set some goals of what they feel is most important for them to work on first, because we're not going to change everything overnight. Not going to happen. Let's pick a couple things. Let's achieve it. Let's pick a couple more. And so we just kind of work on setting goals that are going to be important for them. And then if they wish, they can come back and see me as often as they want. It's a free service. And that accountability can really help them, because a lot of them will tell me, and I kind of feel bad, but they're like, we're coming to see you and we don't want to tell you that we didn't do it. And so it really does kind of motivate them, that they don't want to come sit down and talk to me and be like, yep, I didn't do it, and so it does help keep them on track. I see, my goodness, anything, honestly, food allergies, intolerances, eating disorders, weight loss. I have some that want to gain weight, mostly, of course, muscle weight, supplement questions, you name it, I can take it on. I've been doing this a very long time, so I've seen probably about everything. So whatever the student needs, they can definitely come to me nutritionally and I can assist them.
How can students access you?
They can email me at ccmcmillen, easier to spell it, at mail.wvu.edu. Also, they can go to the WVU Dining webpage, and if they click on the nutrition tab at the top, it's going to have all of my contact information. Right now, I'm not getting my voicemail in my office because I'm not there very often, but email is going to be the best way for them to reach me right now, and we can do virtual counseling.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's great to share that information, because, especially now that everything's online, even for students who knew or were interested in your services, they may not have your contact information. So that's great information to have. And if anyone wants to access it, they now have two ways, which is great.
Yeah. Give me shoot me an email and we can definitely set something up to work with their schedule.
Yeah.
Cami, I'm so grateful that you took the time to talk with us. I'm really grateful that you're here at WVU and providing this service. Any opportunity that I have to, throw a plug in and to let students know that you're available, I'm totally on board for that. And I really appreciate you taking the time with us tonight too.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It just helps get the word out that I do exist. I am real. A lot of people have no idea that I'm on campus and a free service. And when they find out, they're like, how did I not know? And so I appreciate just being able to get the word out and hopefully get some more students who are interested.
Adam, do you have anything to add to before we sign off?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Kayla said. Thank you so much for joining. And I think it's just such a great thing to have on any university campus, to have someone that can help, whether it's someone seeking to, like you said, gain some muscle mass, or someone just wanting basic nutritional guidance. Yeah. And so just to know that you're a resource is a great thing. And even just what we've talked about here today and the information you've given, that's a lot of good advice for a student who may say, wow, okay, maybe I do need to start drinking some more water. And just that little step could go a long way. So thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for joining us here today.
Oh, well, thank you guys. It was so good to talk with you.